the ghost kitchens themselves have their own integration, technology integrations as well. They have their own deals with these major aggregators, and and some of them are starting their own delivery. They're going to vertically integrate themselves.
Yeah, it makes sense because I mean, it's an interesting thing with ghost kitchens because it's a real estate play, it's a logistics play, and it's a technology play at the same time. So let's talk about that. Have you guys started doing ghost kitchens? Have you started using? Are you building your own? Give us a little bit for all of us uneducated individuals about the ghost kitchen. Who better to talk with and are somebody who owns and embraces technology in the restaurant industry than
Well,
yourself?
there's a few. We are literally launching our first ghost kitchens right now. We're opening two in LA, one in Pasadena with Kitchen United, one in Koreatown with Cloud Kitchens. So we have national agreements with those guys, and we're finalizing an agreement with Reef, which is the third big party. And they all have different business models and different approaches and different strengths, and they're all, frankly, really smart, really passionate, great to work with. So I speak highly of all of them. Our approach is that you basically got a box, 300 square feet, and then so the investment thesis should be, how do I maximize the revenue or rev out this box?
Mm-hmm.
Which we have a brand, Capriati's, that's well known in a lot of these areas, already has demand. But there's also that opportunity to create what we call virtual brands underneath it, which is
Oh yeah, that's huge because I mean it's a great in the LinkedIn thread that you and I were both involved with that Beth had posted. A lot of people were saying, hey, I want people to come to me and I want to own the relationship and I got this because of social, but that's not the purpose for a lot of people. The purpose is, hey, if I can't deliver that far and there's demand for my product, let me install a satellite so I can deliver where I can just prep the food and send it out. But second, let me try stuff out because I might be able to just tweak a couple things and create a whole new brand, and it's a virtual brand, correct?
yeah. So um, that's an area that we have already launched. We've launched, as of today, 3 virtual brands. We have a dozen more behind it. But operationally, you got to figure out how to make that work, how to make supply chain work, training, your staff support, all that work.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of time and energy on that. And now we're launching those and we'll be testing those. And just to be candid, this is the Wild West. Like anybody that tells you that they know how this works and how to do this is full of it because
Yeah.
everybody's testing, everybody's learning. The companies, the hosts, the technology providers, the aggregators, we're all, learning on the go. So,
Yeah,
uh,
it's almost like a willing like we're willingly becoming beta testers. 'Cause it's a Wild West because it's unknown, right? The ascendancy. Let's talk economics though. When to move forward, you had to want to try things out like you've done with the delivery apps and all the other technologies and the POS system integrations, et cetera. So I commend you for that. I think that's impressive to see, somebody who has that affinity and that willingness to try things out. It's a fail fast mentality, right? So of course you were in technology companies before because that's how we built Digsy, right? You fail fast. That doesn't work. Why didn't it work? Let's tweak it. Let's do it. And then you basically start honing in to where the really value prop is. But when you started looking at the economics of ghost kitchens, what do you see? What opportunities do you see? What do you know so far, and what are the unknowns?
well, it's certainly, from a real estate standpoint, taking undervalued real estate, taking something that's worth basically, a buck a foot and being able to charge $200 a foot
Hmm.
is going to pencil out. So from a real estate standpoint, it's pretty black and white. Nothing, no rocket science there. I think it's the enabling or the execution of that that's much, much more difficult because you can't just stick up, 20, 30 restaurants in 300 square foot boxes and have it all work. So the technology support and integration that these companies have developed and are continuing to develop, the partnerships they're bringing to the table, the expertise they're bringing to the table is really sort of their secret sauce.
Hmm.
And it's very different depending upon who the provider is. But they're moving so fast and they're learning so fast that it's pretty impressive.
So when you're renting these 300 square feet, I mean, are we paying the same amount per foot that we are, let's say when we open up our own restaurant? Is it
No,
more? Is it less?
no. So let's say let's just take out, Orange County. Let's say a restaurant in Orange County costs me 10 grand a month,
Mhm.
for 1,400 square feet, whatever.
Yeah.
That same restaurant in the Ghost Kitchen would cost me about half of that.
Mhm.
Plus, I would be participating in the shared services piece.
Right.
So all the, I'd pay probably some rent for rack space in the refrigerator and the freezer and the dry storage, but I'd have access to all that in sort of a flexible flex space.
Right.
I'd have shared services for technology, for grease traps, for HVAC. I'd have one shared service for like an expediter that picks up the orders and interfaces with the aggregators.
Mhm.
And then they have their own
And
marketing.
that they provide that. That's not an employee of yours.
Right, they provide.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you basically are getting all these economies of scales that you guys are all sharing. It's kind of like common areas in an office building.
Yeah, and I don't have any front of the house, so my build out cost, some provide the equipment, some you put the equipment in, and that certainly impacts the occupancy cost, depending on who put out the capex. But they do all that sort of running of collecting and running of the food. So I literally am running a kitchen with 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 people, because all I have is like 250, 300 square feet. That's it.
Yeah.
So I have a small, very tight staff. All I have is kitchen equipment. I'm sharing grease traps and HVAC and all that kind of stuff. So my investment is much, much lower than a traditional restaurant. My ongoing costs are much lower. My risk is therefore much lower.